Jaiden Reid walked onto the track at Hayward Field as a 21-year-old kid from a tiny Caribbean island that almost nobody associates with world-class sprinting. He walked off it as the man who just ended a 19-year reign that the greatest college sprinters in America could never touch. What happened between those two moments is one of the most unlikely performances in the history of college track. To truly understand just how massive this is, you have to understand the record he broke. Back in 2007, a Florida State sprinter named Walter Dix ran the 200 meters in 19.69 seconds. Dix was not some ordinary college athlete. He went on to win 2 Olympic bronze medals at the 2008 Beijing Games, and he became one of the most respected American sprinters of his entire generation. That is the level of athlete whose record was just broken. His collegiate record sat at the very top of the mountain for nearly 2 decades. The fastest young men in America lined up year after year and tried to chase that number down, and every single one of them came up short. For 19 years, that mark felt almost permanent, like a fixed part of the sport that would simply never change. And then a determined kid from a tiny Caribbean island walked into Eugene and erased it on what should have been an ordinary Friday night. But here is the part that makes this whole story almost impossible to believe. Reid did not arrive at that 200-meter final feeling fresh and rested. He had already poured everything he had into 2 brutal races earlier that very same evening. First, he ran a blistering leg on the LSU 4x100 relay, helping his team grab a silver medal in a season best time of 38.06. That race was pure chaos, with both Arkansas and Auburn fumbling their baton exchanges and opening the door for the Tigers. Then, only a short while later, he lined up for the 100-meter final and finished a heartbreaking second in a wind-aided 9.82 seconds, beaten only by Nigeria's Kanyensola Ajayi. By the time he walked back out for the half lap, his legs had already been pushed far past their limit. He later admitted that all of that earlier effort probably stole a tenth or two of a second from his time. He even said that doing the 100 and the relay was a lot on his body, especially while doing it all twice in a single week. Think about that for a moment. He shattered a 19-year-old record on completely exhausted legs, and he genuinely believes he still had more left to give. Reid had entered the final as the fastest qualifier of the entire field, but even he did not expect what was about to unfold. In his own honest words, he was hoping for something around 19.9, or maybe a low 20 like he had run at regionals. His plan was beautifully simple: stay calm, trust his training, and execute it cleanly. When the gun fired, he settled patiently into the curve, stayed low and relaxed, and then unleashed absolutely everything he had down the home straight. He drove long, kept his form clean and controlled, and slowly pulled away from the entire field with frightening ease. Auburn's Israel Okon fought hard for second place in 19.99 seconds, and Indiana's Trelly Banks took third in 20.02. The gap between Reid and the rest of the world was simply enormous. When he finally looked up and saw 19.63 glowing on the giant clock, the pure shock was written all over his face. The packed crowd at Hayward Field roared as the numbers sank in, because everyone watching understood they had just seen something historic. His answer was almost humble. He said he simply listened to his coach, stayed down, drove long, and believed in himself. The number itself tells a truly remarkable story. That 19.63 was the single fastest 200 meters run anywhere in the world across all of 2026. It was a brand new national record for the Cayman Islands, and most meaningfully of all, it was his first ever legal time under 20 seconds. For 2 full seasons, Reid had been desperately hunting that barrier. He had slipped under 20 before, more than once, but always with too much wind at his back, which meant every one of those marks was wiped from the official record books. This time, the wind was perfectly legal, the clock was honest, and the record was completely and undeniably his. To put his raw speed into proper perspective, only the greatest sprinters in human history have ever run faster. Usain Bolt's world record still stands far ahead at 19.19, yet Reid's name now lives in genuinely elite company. A wind legal run this fast at the college level is extraordinarily rare. It is the kind of time that announces a young sprinter is ready to compete with full-grown professionals on the very biggest stages in the world. And this victory did not come out of nowhere. Reid's rise has been quietly building for years. As a young high schooler racing for Jamaica College, he helped win a relay title at the famous Penn Relays in Philadelphia. He then claimed a silver medal at the 2024 Carifta Games, the biggest junior meet in the entire Caribbean, finishing just behind his fellow countryman Devonte Howell. Once he arrived at LSU, the records started tumbling almost immediately. Back in 2024, he ran 20.51 to set his first national 200-meter mark, and from there he simply kept chiseling away at the clock, lowering his times in the 60, the 100, and the 200, until he proudly held all 3 Cayman Islands records at once. Even during this same championship week in Eugene, he ran a personal best of 9.95 seconds in the 100-meter heats, just to qualify fastest for the final. The signs were all there for anyone paying attention. Reid was building towards something genuinely special, and on that Friday night, every bit of that quiet progress finally exploded into history. His brilliance did not simply lift him alone. It lifted his entire team right along with him. Across the championships, Reid personally scored 20 of LSU's 42 total points, leading the Tigers from the front in almost every event he touched. That effort powered LSU all the way to a 4th-place finish in the men's team standings, which was a stunning climb from their distant 28th place result just one single season earlier. The Tigers even added another silver in the 4x400 relay, closing out the night with a brand new school record of their own. Arkansas took home the overall team title with 56 points, with Georgia and Tennessee following close behind them. But the single loudest story of the entire night belonged to one sprinter dressed in purple and gold. Now, a much bigger question hangs heavy in the air. If Jaiden Reid can already run the fastest 200 meters on Earth this year, on exhausted legs, against the clock, and against history itself, what on earth happens when he finally steps onto the world stage completely fresh and fully rested? For a tiny island nation that rarely produces global sprint stars, he has become a genuine source of national pride and a symbol of what is possible. The international summer is coming fast, and the best sprinters on the planet have just been handed a very serious warning. The young man who already owns the fastest 200 meters in the world this year is about to test himself against the established global stars, and if this is what he can do while exhausted, the rest of the field has every reason to be nervous. A 21-year-old from a small island nation just rewrote the record books. And the honest truth is that he is only getting started.